she doesn't look like a dancer. That was the first whisper that floated through the pristine halls of Preston Academy of the Arts when Zara Coleman walked in. 19 years old, dark-skinned, and thick in all the places society called wrong. Her leotard came from a thrift store, her sneakers had seen better days, but her eyes carried a kind of quiet fire that didn't belong to a girl who was supposed to stay invisible. Every mirror in the studio reflected a different version of perfection. Slender girls in pale pink tights, hair slicked into flawless buns, laughter sharp as glass. Zara looked at her reflection once, then lowered her gaze, clutching the folded audition paper in her hand until it crumpled. "Are you lost?" a tall blonde girl asked, not unkindly but not kindly either. "Auditions for community dance are next week." The other girls giggled, the sound blending with the squeak of ballet shoes on waxed floors. Zara's lips trembled, but she lifted her chin. "No. I'm here for the scholarship audition." The laughter softened into surprise, then into something worse, pity. The instructor, Miss Preston, tall and elegant in black, turned from the mirror with a raised brow. "Scholarship?" she repeated, as though the word itself offended her. "You do understand this is an advanced classical program?" Zara nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Miss Preston hesitated, then sighed. "Very well. Show us what you can do." Zara stepped onto the floor, plugged in her old phone and pressed play. The speaker crackled before the deep, trembling voice of Etta James filled the room. "I'd rather go blind. Not ballet music. Not traditional. Just raw soul." The girls exchanged glances, some hiding smiles. But when Zara began to move, those smiles faltered. She didn't dance like them, she danced like someone who had nothing left to lose. Her arms didn't glide, they reached. Her turns weren't perfect, but they carried truth. Each movement seemed to tear open something she'd been holding in for years. For a moment, even Miss Preston forgot to breathe. Because what Zara lacked in polish she replaced with power, not the kind taught in studios but the kind born in silence, in struggle, in standing tall when the world keeps trying to make you small. When the song ended, the studio stayed quiet. No applause. Just breathing, uneven, awkward, uncertain. Madison Pierce, the Academy's star ballerina, finally broke the silence. "That was emotional," she said, her tone sugar-coated with arrogance. "But this is ballet, not Broadway. Feelings don't win scholarships." The laughter that followed was soft but sharp enough to cut. Zara only smiled faintly. "Maybe they should," she murmured. Miss Preston's clipboard snapped shut. "Thank you, Miss Coleman. We'll be in touch." And just like that, it was over. Or at least that's what they thought. Zara walked out of the studio, rain drizzling against her face as she stepped into the gray evening. The city hummed around her, car horns, sirens, the muffled rhythm of dreams crashing and rebuilding. She should have cried. She should have felt humiliated. But instead, something inside her was burning brighter than before. Let them laugh, she thought. Let them think they've already seen the best of me. Because what they saw today wasn't the end of her story. It was only the spark before the storm. 3 days passed. No call. No email. No letter. Zara checked her inbox until her thumb hurt. Nothing. The silence felt louder than laughter. Her mother, Elaine Coleman, noticed the quiet. She was folding laundry in their small apartment when Zara walked in, still wearing her thrift store sneakers, still holding her phone like it held her future. "They didn't pick you?" Elaine asked softly. Zara shook her head. "Guess I wasn't their kind of dancer." Her mother smiled, tired but kind. "Their kind doesn't matter. You have your kind. The world just hasn't learned it yet." But the words barely landed. Because when your dream is bruised, comfort feels like air, gentle but hard to hold. That night, as the city outside their window glittered like broken glass, Zara opened her phone and watched clips of the girls from Preston Academy performing on stage. Every leap, every turn looked effortless, flawless. She should have felt inspired. Instead, she felt erased. That was when she saw the post. Preston Academy Spring Gala, open call for backup performers. Unpaid. Last minute. No prestige attached. Just background roles. Still, Zara's pulse quickened. Because sometimes the door that looks smallest leads to the biggest stage. She showed up 2 days later. Same hall. Same girls. Except this time she didn't come to impress them. She came to take up space. The girls whispered again, their laughter echoing like ghosts from last time. Madison Pierce stood in front, hair perfect, posture regal. When her eyes met Zara's, her smirk returned, sharp as ever. "You're back," Madison said. "Wow. Brave. Or desperate?" Zara didn't flinch. "Maybe both," she said quietly. The rehearsal began. Miss Preston wasn't leading this time. It was Mr. Adler, a younger choreographer with tired eyes and coffee stains on his hoodie. He watched Zara carefully, not with pity, but with curiosity. When the music started, Zara found her rhythm, not in the steps they gave her but in the feeling she refused to hide. Her movements weren't perfect, but they meant something. Every spin carried defiance. Every breath was proof she belonged. Then Madison accidentally brushed against her, hard enough to knock her off balance. Gasps followed. Madison smiled. "Oops," she said. Zara froze, humiliated, eyes burning, until Mr. Adler's voice cut through the tension. "Madison," he said sharply. "You'll sit this one out." The room fell silent. Madison blinked, stunned. "Zara, take her lead role," he added. You could have heard a pin drop. Zara's heart pounded so loud it drowned out the whispers. The other dancers exchanged uneasy glances. "Me?" she said, barely believing it. "Yes, you. Let's see what happens when someone actually dances like they mean it." The music began again, this time slower, darker, heavier. Zara stepped forward. Her body remembered what her heart had been trying to say for years. The moves didn't come from training. They came from pain, from rejection, from hunger, from every no that ever tried to shrink her dream. And suddenly everyone was watching. Mr. Adler nodded slightly, like he saw something he hadn't in a long time, truth. When it ended, nobody laughed. Even Madison's smirk had vanished. As the dancers left, Mr. Adler called out, "Zara, stay behind." She turned, unsure what to expect. "You're rough," he said honestly. "But you're real. Don't lose that. The world's full of dancers who move well. Not many who move people." Zara's throat tightened. It was the first time anyone had ever said that to her. Outside, the rain had stopped. The air felt lighter, like even the clouds wanted to see where her story would go next. Because for the first time in her life, Zara Coleman wasn't just another face in the background. She was a storm waiting to happen. The next morning, Zara's name was on the cast board. Zara Coleman, lead understudy. She stared at it for a full minute. Her chest felt tight, her hands trembling. Behind her, whispers began again, softer this time, sharper. She got it because Adler feels sorry for her. Token spot. Probably some diversity thing. Zara kept her eyes forward, but every word hit like a bruise. By lunchtime she was trending, not on social media but in the Academy's group chat. Someone had posted a photo of her during practice, captioned, "Inclusion over talent strikes again." The comments came fast, cruel and cutting. "She looks like she ate the last dancer. She moves heavy, not graceful. Maybe she's auditioning for hip-hop, not ballet." Her phone screen blurred as she blinked through tears. That night she wanted to quit. Every step forward felt like a trap waiting to humiliate her. But when she got home, her mom was waiting with a small, faded VHS tape in her hand. "This was your grandmother," Elaine said softly. "She was the first black ballerina in our church troupe. They said her body was wrong too. But she danced anyway." They watched together on their old TV. The footage flickered, grainy, fragile, beautiful. Her grandmother moved with fire, joy, rebellion. And for the first time that week, Zara smiled. Because it wasn't just about her anymore. It was about every girl who had been told her body couldn't be art. The next day she walked into class with her head high. Rehearsals grew harder. Mr. Adler pushed her past exhaustion. The mirrors became her greatest enemy, reflecting every doubt she had ever felt. And yet, every night she stayed after everyone left, repeating turns until her vision spun, holding poses until her legs shook. Then came the announcement. One dancer will be chosen to represent Preston Academy at the National Youth Dance Showcase. A murmur ran through the room. Everyone knew what that meant: prestige, scholarships, national spotlight. Madison smirked again. "Guess I'll start packing for New York." But Mr. Adler's eyes lingered on Zara. "Everyone earns their place," he said. "No assumptions." The tension cracked like glass. Over the next weeks, the pressure grew unbearable. Zara's shoes tore, her ankles burned. Madison's clique spread rumors, claiming Zara bribed Adler for favoritism. And one afternoon, someone slipped a cruel note into her locker. "You'll never look like a real dancer. Stop embarrassing yourself." Zara read it once, twice, then quietly folded it. That night she taped it to her mirror. Not as a wound but as fuel. Because sometimes the world breaks you to see if you'll rebuild stronger. The final audition came on a stormy Friday. The hall was packed. Teachers, parents, sponsors. Zara waited backstage, trembling but determined. When her name was called, she walked onto the polished floor, light glinting off her sweat-soaked skin. The music began, a haunting violin piece that felt like heartbreak turned into sound. She closed her eyes. Then she danced. Not perfectly, no. But honestly. Her body told a story words couldn't. Every movement screamed, "I belong here." When it ended, silence filled the room, not out of confusion but awe. And in that silence, for the first time, she didn't feel small. She felt seen. But as she walked off stage, she caught a glimpse of Madison whispering to a board member, their faces close, secretive. Then a flicker of unease hit her gut. Something was off. That night, the Academy posted its official announcement. The representative for the National Youth Showcase was Madison Pierce. Zara read the post twice. Her vision blurred. All the hours, all the pain, all the fight, erased in a single line. Her phone buzzed. Mr. Adler's text appeared. "Come to the studio tomorrow. Don't give up yet." She exhaled shakily. Because something told her, the fight wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Morning light crept through the Academy windows, cold and sharp. Zara sat on the edge of her bed, still wearing yesterday's practice clothes. The words from the announcement echoed in her head like an old song that wouldn't fade. Madison Pierce, representative for the National Youth Showcase. It didn't sting because Madison won. It stung because Zara knew, deep down, that the stage had told a different truth that night. She had felt it. Everyone had. The silence after her dance hadn't been indifference, it had been reverence. Yet somehow that silence had been rewritten. When she arrived at the Academy that morning, whispers had already filled the hallway like static. Adler's in trouble. They said there was a recording. Something about the judges. Zara's heart pounded. She hadn't planned on getting involved in drama, she just wanted to dance. But the look Mr. Adler gave her when she entered the studio told her everything. He had discovered something, and it was bigger than favoritism. "Zara," he said quietly, closing the door behind her. "I need you to see something." He pulled up an email thread on his computer. It was between Madison's mother, a major donor, and the Academy's board chair. The messages were polite but loaded with poison. "My daughter has worked too hard to be overlooked. I trust her dedication will be appropriately recognized this year." Below that, "Understood. Consider it done." Zara's hands shook as she read. Her throat went dry. All those sleepless nights, the sweat, the humiliation, it had all been for a contest already decided before she stepped on the stage. Mr. Adler's jaw tightened. "I tried to fight it, but I don't have final say. They overruled me." For a long moment, neither spoke. The air felt too heavy for words. Then, softly, Adler said, "But you have something they can't silence, proof of what you can do. There's a video of your performance. The tech team records every audition. And I think it deserves to be seen." Zara blinked. "You want to post it?" He nodded. "No politics. No press release. Just art speaking for itself." That evening, the video went live, unofficially, on the Academy's YouTube channel. No title, no caption, just Zara Coleman, solo performance. At first, a handful of views. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Within a day it exploded. People weren't just watching, they were feeling. Comments flooded in. "This is what passion looks like. Who is this girl? She just broke me and healed me in 3 minutes. Why isn't Isichi the one representing us?" By the second day, local news outlets picked it up. By the third, dance critics were sharing it under hashtags like hashtag Zara Coleman Movement and hashtag Dance Without Barriers. The Academy tried to stay quiet, but silence can't survive a wildfire. Reporters camped outside. Parents demanded answers. Even sponsors started pulling out, unwilling to be linked to favoritism and corruption. Madison, once the Academy's golden girl, stopped showing up to class. Rumors spread that her family had withdrawn her from the program. And Zara walked the halls not like someone who had won, but like someone who had survived something heavy and holy. Every glance from her peers carried a mix of awe and guilt. Some whispered apologies she didn't need to hear. Others just stepped aside when she passed. For the first time, she wasn't invisible. A week later, an emergency meeting was called in the auditorium. The room buzzed with tension. Parents, board members, students, all packed in tight rows. Mr. Adler stood near the podium, eyes weary but proud. The headmistress, Ms. Durant, looked pale under the bright stage lights. "We've come to address recent events regarding the National Youth Showcase selection," she began, voice trembling slightly. "After reviewing internal communications and audition footage, we have determined that the selection process was compromised. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. Ms. Durant paused, then continued, "The board has decided to revoke the previous nomination. Effective immediately, Zara Coleman will represent Preston Academy at the National Youth Showcase in New York." For a second no one breathed. Then applause, hesitant at first, then thunderous. Mr. Adler exhaled, shoulders finally unclenching. And Zara, sitting in the back row, covered her mouth with her hand, tears slipping free. It wasn't just victory. It was vindication. That night, she stood alone in the empty studio, facing her reflection. The mirrors had once mocked her, showing her everything she wasn't. Now they reflected who she had become, proof that resilience could outdance cruelty. She placed her palms against the cool glass and whispered, "For every girl they said didn't fit." Then she began to move, not rehearsing, not performing, just being. Each motion carried pieces of her story, the laughter she endured, the nights she wanted to quit, the courage she borrowed from her grandmother's flickering vis. This was her language now, one the world could finally hear. The national showcase arrived sooner than expected. New York's skyline glittered like ambition carved from glass and steel. The backstage smelled of rosin, sweat, and nerves. Dancers from across the country stretched and whispered in corners, each chasing their own kind of glory. Zara stood quietly near the curtain, wearing a pale gold costume stitched by her mother. The fabric shimmered like sunrise, a reminder that light could come from anywhere. When her name was announced, the crowd went still. Cameras turned. Critics leaned forward. The music began, not the classical number she was assigned, but something new, something raw. She had rewritten the choreography herself, blending classical precision with grounded, soulful movements that mirrored her journey. Every step defied the rules that said ballet must be delicate, small, restrained. Her dance was wide, breathing, alive. And when she leapt, arms open, head lifted, it felt as if the whole world rose with her. The applause started before the music ended. Then it grew, rising, breaking, unstoppable. She bowed, tears streaking her cheeks, not from sadness but from the realization that every cruel word, every rejection, had been fuel for this exact moment. After the performance, reporters rushed forward. One asked breathlessly, "Zara, how does it feel to prove everyone wrong?" She smiled, shaking her head. "I didn't come here to prove anyone wrong. I came to prove to myself that I belonged." Another voice shouted, "What message do you want to send to young dancers watching you right now?" Zara looked straight into the camera, her voice steady. "That art doesn't have a size, a color, or a background. It has a heartbeat. And every single person brave enough to show theirs deserves to be seen." Her words went viral overnight. Months later, Preston Academy announced the Zara Coleman Scholarship, a full program dedicated to dancers from underrepresented backgrounds. Zara was invited to mentor the first group of students. Walking into that same studio, she watched little girls tie their first ballet shoes, girls with brown skin, thick bodies, tight curls, and eyes full of fire. And in each of them she saw herself, the version that once stood trembling and uncertain. "Remember," she told them gently, "you don't dance to fit in. You dance to be free." The video of her showcase performance passed 1 million views. Critics called her a revolution in motion. But to Zara it wasn't about fame, it was about change. The kind that sticks, the kind that whispers to the next generation, "You can." And maybe that's why, when she walked out of the academy that evening, the city lights didn't feel so distant anymore. She had turned pain into purpose. And the world at last was listening. If this story of courage and transformation moved you, let it remind you that every step forward, no matter how heavy, creates ripples beyond what you can see. Like this video if you believe art can break barriers. Subscribe for more real stories that prove the underestimated can rise higher than anyone ever imagined. And share this story because someone out there needs to know they belong too.